What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hindsight, a Star Wars series. Today we are talking Solo, a Star Wars story. Happy that I, kind of had that all together. John thinks this is the Rogue One special, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not yet.
I accidentally watched Rogue One first.
So I've got my Solo T-shirt on. There you go.
That is so. Where did you get that? Did they sell that? Did you
Amazon.
steal that? Really?
Amazon.
I remember when they were filming that movie, someone on Reddit posted like a picture of somebody wearing that, and they were like a cast member or a crew member, and it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
and you can just buy it.
Yeah,
that's not cool anymore.
It
looks cool.
As soon as it was available, It was a little bit before the movie came out. I got to get a Rise of Skywalker one. Those look awesome in the blue.
Just print that exact shirt.
I mean, I could, but I'd have to do 100 of them.
I'll buy 50.
Get started.
So there's that. Anyway, I'm Josiah. That's John.
Hi.
That's Seth. Here we are. So I really am interested in today's discussion. I would say I don't know where you guys totally stand on Solo. Now, granted,
right.
we know from past episodes of what we filmed so far in the lead up to Rise of Skywalker that I just love everything Star Wars. It is what it is. You guys maybe are more critical with it. So I want to hear where you are with Solo.
I'm critical for the sake of being critical. I enjoy everything Star Wars too. I enjoy all 3 prequel movies, but I know they're all bad,
I wouldn't say I'm critical for the sake of being critical.
I am for this podcast. That's my angle for this podcast.
Adam Hur is in his pocket. That's what it is.
He is.
I've never met this man.
You're in the pocket of Big Hur.
I've never met him.
Yeah. I mean, I have my angle on film criticism is generally I tend to focus more on just what I like about things rather than what I don't like, and I don't want to try to find flaws just so that it seems like I have a more well-informed review, which I'm not saying is what you're doing at all. I'm just talking about my general approach to film criticism.
To look
and that's why I just like
critically.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is, unless we're talking about the Star Wars prequels.
because I just that
All right, this guy over here.
That's my
Seth. Let's talk.
Starting early.
You're not gonna want to talk to me about the prequels, but
We already did that for 3 hours.
3 hours on the prequels.
All right, what are we doing? This is just
Time to move on.
prequels, a Star Wars story.
This is really kind of a prequel.
And
Not
did the-
really.
Well, literally, I
Wars
mean,
have-
it's not kind of a prequel. It is
I guess
literally
depends
a prequel.
on the release date, which in this case it would make it a prequel
All of them depend on what you compare them to, but it's a prequel.
from a certain point of view.
anyway.
So Solo.
So you've only seen it except for yesterday
I've seen it-
once.
yeah, twice. Yeah, so I've watched it when it came out in theaters, and then I just rewatched it yesterday. for
It
the
got
second
lost
time.
in the shuffle, I think, in
It
theaters.
came out at a very bad time.
in between Avengers and Deadpool 2. I
I mean,
think.
and then not too far after
It was
Last
right-
Jedi. Or,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it was 5-6 months later.
Yeah, and,
yeah.
and that for what it was.
We weren't ready for another Star Wars movie. It's not like Marvel movies where you can release 2 or 3 a year, I think. I think Star Wars is different.
Especially with the impact that The Last Jedi had on Star Wars culture. However you felt about that movie, you had, even if you liked it, you had to do some defending. If you didn't, you were maybe a little sour on it. I think it was just a tough time frame for Solo.
And and even Bob Iger has since said that it was his call to release Solo at that time, and it was not necessarily the right call.
Yeah. What's up with that jacket? Is that a Star Wars?
This is a Star Wars jacket.
Yo.
See, that is
Bomber jacket?
reversible.
Why didn't I get the memo that we're going Star Wars? I mean, it's a
I knew we were talking Star Wars.
I did- I think I wore
They also made my Luke jacket, the replica of his Bespin.
That is pretty cool.
Jacket. So yeah, it's good
What?
stuff.
You
Buster
didn't tell
Brand.
me.
I do have a change for Rogue One. I've got a Rogue One
You
T-shirt.
guys
that I'm gonna
didn't
put
tell
on.
me about anything.
All right, John, get on Amazon
I'll
right
tell you
now.
about it.
Okay.
Remember the first episode where I was like, I'm gonna dress in time
He did it.
appropriate.
He
I
did
didn't
say
think you
for
were
one
serious.
episode.
And now you're just wearing Star Wars.
I
clothes.
originally wanted to. I was planning it out. I was gonna be all wearing some kind of Matrix get up for Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
And then Revenge of the Sith. Maybe I would have been emo, 2005, American Idiot or something like that. And I gave up on it pretty quickly, but I like the idea.
Oh, I wish you would have come and dressed as Billy Joe Armstrong. That would have been great. I could have been Trey. Okay, so back to Solo.
So
Yeah.
this is without a doubt my favorite steelbook in the series. That thing is hot.
I didn't know how you'd feel about it
I love it.
because it's not uniform with the first 7.
Correct. Yeah, Rogue One broke that mold, so I
Yeah.
didn't expect it. That's awesome though. That's one of the only ones I don't have. That's
Best Buy 4K, of course. So 4K Blu-ray digital.
yeah.
I like it. And it kind of it emphasizes the Falcon, as you can see, if you can see it. It's on the cover.
She's there.
But
You don't even have a 4K set, you imposter.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Listen,
You always got a future.
I talk about it daily.
When you do that, hit me up. We'll talk TVs.
Okay. Well, I'm not the one that you got to convince.
No, when the convincing is already done and you're ready to make the purchase.
All right, give me
talk
some
to
time. Give me some time.
I'm not going to bat for you.
Okay.
I'll help you find a good one.
All right. Good. I'll come to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Solo.
Solo. I liked it. We'll release our updated rankings towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, 'cause
as we have been.
I don't even have it ranked yet. This conversation is going to kind of put it somewhere for me.
Interesting. Okay.
So there may be some swaying. You're saying?
Yeah, let me hear what you got to say about it. You know?
Well, I won't spoil where it is then. So
no, we'll talk about it at the very end.
How'd
you feel? How'd you feel about it?
First of all, well, I enjoyed it. I think Seth kind of mentioned before show that we cut him off because we wanted him to bring it up on the mic here. Is
yes.
your general feeling towards it where it's almost a little bit lighter?
And this is the way, a lot of movies that are fun but don't necessarily have as much weight to them. They're a kind of movie you can, throw on very frequently. Like some of the, games or movies that I absolutely love the most and have had the biggest impact on me, I don't endeavor to watch or play very often because they're
intense,
heavier experiences.
You want to sit down and enjoy it.
But something like Solo, Death Stranding, I can't see myself just
casually popping through that. Yeah.
That's an experience, that game. So with something like Solo, it can be seen as a positive or a negative. That it's something that I could just put on in a loop throughout the day and just to have on because it's a fun thing to have on. But that also kind of speaks to, maybe it lacks some impact, lacks some weight. But overall, I do really like this movie, especially given this and Rogue One, given how much trouble they had in production. It's amazing that, they came out as well as they did. Although I think Rogue One, it kind of, has some weight and some cachet that this movie doesn't necessarily. But I really like Solo. Has some great moments. I think ultimately it a lot about the way it was made and the way it was released. It kind of makes me kind of I feel like it was to be the first in a series that it now might not necessarily be. But I really like it. And it's always a good one to flip on.
Yeah, so you brought up the Rogue One comparison and where it lacked maybe some of that impact. I think what you were referencing is like impact related to the original trilogy, kind of.
It doesn't have those... I mean, Rogue One is just better. It just has more. It has more weight to it, and I just feel like it establishes its own identity a little bit more. Whereas, Solo does have its own identity. It goes for more of this kind of adventure, swashbuckling mixed with sort of this Dickensian, rough upbringing kind of origin story for Han Solo. It has a little bit more of like a watered down quality than something like Rogue One does.
What I was going to say about Rogue One is that Rogue One, even if we wouldn't have seen either of these two movies and you were to tell me you're making a Han Solo movie or you're making a direct prequel to A New Hope where they get the plans for the Death Star, one of them lends itself more to some more wow moments just based on that alone. I mean, this is Han Solo. Everything we know about Han Solo, we know we already kind of have what we need.
Right.
One of the biggest questions when this movie was announced was, even from people who were excited to see it, big Star Wars fans, do we need this movie? And even though I liked it and I enjoyed it, I would still say no. And I really liked it.
Like this movie could never exist, and we'd be almost all the same for it.
Exactly,
right?
But that's not, in my eyes, that's not a negative or a deterrent for the film itself. It doesn't need to exist, but I still love it, and I think it's really, really good. I think it's the most underrated Star Wars movie.
So we talked about it a little bit with Amanda
possibly
from the Geekiverse just beforehand. I think it almost seemed like I don't want to say because she's not here to defend herself, but judging it based on that a little bit. Like, do we need this movie kind of thing? And
sure.
Then, we talked about the turmoil briefly. There was a lot with this, and I'm kind of amazed that it wasn't a mess.
I really think that it was a lot of fallout that was already in the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars fandom based on The Last Jedi. I mean, I think we're not there yet, but we're all pretty positive on The Last Jedi.
Well, you're speaking in terms of production difficulties.
We had already lost Lord and Miller.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Solo had more. Yeah, Rogue One didn't lose a director, although they had to have somebody else come in and kind of take over directing to some extent. But yeah, Solo was in more of a dire situation where they actually lost directors and they had to start over, the production, in terms of filming, almost from scratch. So It had kind of it was in more difficult, and it was a tighter time frame. They didn't push the date back or anything.
I couldn't believe that they didn't push it back to holiday.
What Ron Howard was able to do with that was a testament to his competency as a director.
Yeah, I think that was the tell for me, is that the fact that this wasn't, first of all, pushed back, and second of all, it wasn't canceled, is that I was never worried about the quality of it. These movies, this is Disney. These are written by a committee. These are overseen by Kathleen Kennedy and her team. I mean, I'm not saying that a director has little or no impact, but this stuff's coming from the top down for the most part.
Yeah, written by committee. I don't know if I would say that.
Oh, they are.
Well, I would say it's not work.
Look at the writing credits. I mean, there's a shell of a story done, and there's probably like 20 or 30 treatments that go on these movies. They're heavily written.
Sure, but I mean, there's I think a distinct identity on something like The Last Jedi versus J.J. Abrams. I feel like Rian Johnson had a lot of ownership over what he did with that movie, for better or worse, depending on how you feel about it.
I'd agree with that, and to an extent Abrams too with Force Awakens, but then you think about Rogue One and Solo, and I feel like that was totally different. Like the identity is not necessarily stemming from one individual as much. Like I think,
written by committee is always going to be true to an extent when you're dealing with a property like this, but I feel like that some of the better movies of this. I mean, overall, I am very positive on the Disney era of Star Wars, but I feel like there have been several examples of that I feel individual kind of creative direction of designers and directors and writers were not necessarily under the thumb of a Kathleen Kennedy or a Bob Iger, but sometimes they were.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Ron Howard comes in, kind of puts his mark on it, does what he does, and the end product, what we have, it's an enjoyable movie. And it's funny, after seeing we've seen 3 episodes of The Mandalorian to date when we're filming this. And it was so different watching Solo yesterday in preparation for this, almost thinking of it as a series. And thinking about, hey, what if they split this movie up into, I don't know, 5 or 6 mini episodes? Like, you kind of piece it together, and I can see that was a possibility. Because now we think about where these anthology movies are going and how they're allegedly on hold for the time being. But maybe we get something of a spin-off directly related to this story with Disney Plus.
I wonder if they're ever going to go back to it. I think they found an opportunity here with, I think that's part of the reason they put these anthology movies on hold, is because they see the potential with Disney Plus.
Agreed.
That's why we're getting that.
I think if
Obi-Wan.
Solo wasn't in the pipeline as early as it was, it would have ended up being just like Obi-Wan.
Sure.
Obi-Wan was supposed to be a movie.
Absolutely.
Originally.
Not to mention the box office here, by the way.
Just real quick on that last point, I don't think they'll revisit it. I think if it would have been closer to Disney Plus, I could have seen them hold off on it and go for a series. I don't think they're going to revisit the characters in this era.
I feel like it's possible.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much. I mean, they were setting up so much with it. It was clearly meant to be a series. And there were all these, I had even heard all these rumors back when Josh Trank was supposed to make that Boba Fett movie. All these kinds of crossovers that Boba Fett and Han Solo's spin-off movies were going to have. I don't know if any of that was true, but
I feel like
I heard stuff.
If I had a bet that we would see a sub-series in this on Disney Plus, I think we will.
Interesting.
Because what they were trying to set up with Kira and Darth Maul feels like a series in itself.
It does.
You could theoretically even bring back Alden Ehrenreich to play Han Solo if you wanted to do a mini Solo series. I don't know that they will, but I felt like they were trying to set up enough within that sub-series within the larger franchise that they were either going to do more movies on it, or now that we see how The Mandalorian is so successful in just a few weeks and the quality that Jon Favreau has done with that, I think maybe you get something with that
and Dave Filoni.
And Dave Filoni, of course. So it's interesting. Like, I mean, right now, would you guys want a series set along kind of that storyline?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would.
No doubt.
So rumors have been swirling forever for some sort of Darth Maul series, and they kind of been surfacing again lately. Nothing that's going to confirm what we're talking about just yet, but like I'd sign up for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already signed up. It's Disney Plus.
I've signed up for 3 years, so give me it in those 3 years.
You have no choice.
That's right.
I have to watch it. I'm contractually obligated.
So box office wise, certainly by today's standards, considered a bomb, a flop, if you will. $392.9 million.
Underperformed, I would say.
I'd say
Bomb-
vastly underperformed.
Yeah, that's fair.
A bomb is like doesn't even make
its money back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it just
there's a filter to put through, like, since it is a Star Wars movie, a Disney movie.
There's a curve.
Maybe.
it's tough when
maybe.
the previous 3 films all cross the $1 billion threshold.
It is.
Right, yeah.
But, I see both sides. Is it fair to call a movie that made $300 million a bomb? Tough.
Yeah. I mean, it
From a
probably
certain
did
point of
have
view.
a higher than normal production budget, given that so much of the there was reshoots that needed.
Yeah, I'm
to be
sure it
done.
was
substantial.
Probably
reshoots.
north of 120-ish, my guess.
Yeah. I mean, north of 200. I would say.
You think
but
so?
I
would
say.
agree.
That's expensive.
Let's find out.
Box
Let's
office
place
mojo.
bets. And whoever wins will stay on the show, and whoever loses will be booted.
Snap, Survivor style.
So what
I'm kind of getting sleepy.
All right. This is great.
Hold
We
on.
won't get to review Rogue One.
No, I want to talk. I have so much to talk about with Rogue One. So much. It's crazy.
Well, you'll get to talk about it with one of us.
That's right.
With one of us.
That's fair.
All right, but go
While
on.
he's looking at that,
yeah.
Alden Ehrenreich is Han Solo.
They didn't have the budget. Doesn't matter. They don't talk about it. All
we both have to leave then.
They do talk about it. And
Just get up. It is just me talking to the camera.
It was 275 million. I was way off.
275?
275.
Yeah.
Bye, John.
Oh,
Photoshop me out. Because I am.
I don't know if that's how it works. But Alden is Han Solo. What do we think?
Big fan.
Very good.
I think you could not have done it better, and that's why I kind of think this is so underrated and scrutinized unfairly. So I think there's so much of that filter. Should this have happened? When people say that they don't like either this movie or his performance, it did happen. It is happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like, you can't just say, like,
I'm mad
but
at-
we didn't need it, but, like, it's here.
But
What
it's
do you
here.
think of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought he crushed the mannerisms. I thought he was absolutely a full sell. He was Han Solo for me. I was not taken out of it by the fact that I grew up watching those movies. Han Solo is someone that I know. I can the voice I can hear. I can the mannerisms, all that kind of stuff. I thought he killed it. I really, really enjoyed his performance.
I'd argue this was a bigger undertaking than Ewan McGregor as young Obi-Wan.
Oh my! Not even close. Not even close.
True. Yeah, there's a lot more. Han Solo is much more of an iconic. I mean, more
there's a
they're
lot.
both iconic.
There's a lot
but
of factors. There's
Han Solo
a
is
much bigger age gap. I mean,
Yeah.
you could do a lot with someone who was Ellen Guinness's age compared to
Alec.
what
Alec.
Alec
Yeah.
Guinness's age compared to what Han Solo was and what Alden was portraying.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was, rewatching, starting to get through some of the original trilogy stuff. I did see some of Alden's Han Solo in, just watching it back kind of in retrospect, that it does make a stronger impression than I remember. Even watching Solo originally, just seeing Harrison Ford again. It's just there is a connection.
He nailed it. I can't imagine the research he did.
I thought he was great. That is not an easy undertaking. And I don't feel like I'm saying he was great just because it was not an easy undertaking, but that he genuinely did a great job with the character.
He pulled it off.
The moment for me, maybe that he was Han Solo in this movie, there were two things that kind of came to mind. There was one in the end battle sequence when he is fighting with Paul Bettany's character. I don't remember the name of it. It's not mentioned here.
Dryden Voss.
Dryden Voss. He kind of dives across the room. It looks very Han Solo-y to me, even though we don't see that necessarily. And then the other moment is when Han is asked by Infus Nest about kind of joining the rebellion indirectly, and he kind of
That little
almost,
smirk?
like kind of almost winks at her, but he does the smirk and he turns his head like that. Like, this kid's Han Solo.
Yeah, no, I got some smuggling to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One moment for me is when he's bluffing about, like, I got all these guys over there on the Falcon.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that's
Lando
so
flies off,
good.
and just that look on his face.
I'll let you take this.
That was pretty classic.
You
Han
do
to
your
me.
thing.
Especially Empire Strikes Back.
That
Like,
was-
everything's going
He's
bad.
just trying to talk his way out of it. And we see that same Han back again in episode 7 when he's on the his freighter and
He's like, I'll talk my way out of it.
like,
Yeah.
What was the second time? So and I think Alden just nails that.
Yeah. But I will say he was kind of overshadowed by, what Donald Glover and Lando,
You think so?
I mean, at least in terms of the
I'll say public
general
perception.
audience, public perception.
Exactly. The
Yes.
marketing behind the film and the fact that Donald Glover was going to portray
was
this.
when, what was the song? What was the Childish Gambino?
I know exactly what you mean. This is America?
This is
That was
America.
way- no,
Thank
that-
you.
no, that was way before it.
That hit. No, that
It had to be
it was around the
relatively-
same time.
Nope.
It was.
I don't think so.
I
Pull it up.
say,
No,
Am I getting it wrong again?
How many months?
you have to now
would we
be
say?
out of here for A New Hope if
All
you
right,
get this
if
wrong.
I'm way wrong, I'm just gonna
Okay,
retire.
I would
I think
no,
it's
it's
awesome.
definitely same time frame.
It was before this movie came out.
Okay.
That's what I say.
I think Seth is right on that.
I don't, but I
And
could
we're
be
not
wrong.
gonna see-
I was literally just wrong. So
This
Well-
is,
We're not going to see John again, but at this rate,
Oh my
you better
gosh.
stop betting on stuff, boyo.
man, that song's stuck in my head now.
And we got copyright struck.
What do we got? 2018, but when? May 5th.
oh my god,
Mere weeks before the movie was released.
how?
So, all right.
I'm gone. So really, Photoshop me out of here.
All right. So I don't
Replace
even know.
me with Donald Glover.
We may not even see him for Empire.
Wow, I was really confident that was not the same time. I was thinking that was around like the
confident.
the red bone like Childish Gambino era. That's what that's what was in my head when I was thinking of the hype around this movie.
Okay.
Sorry, boyo. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm wrong.
Donald Glover, I thought,
Surprise.
was wonderful as Lando, but when he was announced to be Lando, it was. I think that was kind of the highest hype point for the movie. 'Cause
Agreed.
Everyone was really excited about that.
Yeah.
And that hype overshadowed Alden as Han. But when we get to the final product in the movie, I think Alden went toe to toe.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was tilted the other way. I thought I was super excited. I'm a huge Donald Glover fan. I can tell you when all of his songs came out, big fan. But jokes aside, I love his stuff, and I if he's in something, I'm excited for it. I thought he was a little. That wasn't Lando to me. He overacted, and maybe it was direction. It could have been. We talked a lot about this in the prequels. That was a little too. I didn't get that much flair from Lando in those two movies we saw him in the original trilogy.
I see what you're saying.
You know, I got a little. He was
I
a
don't
little
know
extra.
if I'm there, but I see exactly what you're
It's just,
saying.
yeah, that's the way I process it. He just was a little extra for me, and I'm like, all right, I see it. I like it. I don't.
I
love
feel
it.
like he's living up to he is acting the reputation that Lando has in
Fair.
Empire.
Fair.
So I feel like he has to be this kind of larger.
Yeah, and that's definitely direction. It didn't click with me the way that Alden clicked with me.
I disagree about that, but
which and I think I'm in the minority there for sure. I don't think it was like an offensive, and it wasn't a
No.
bad performance, but like he did.
as a Beano fan,
He had so much
Exactly.
goodwill
Is what
going
it
in.
is.
I mean, not that he has less goodwill, but
Sure.
going into the movie, he had so much goodwill that it was like, all right, this guy.
because people
like,
have always
he could have been
loved
terrible. And people
Donald
loved
Glover
him.
has just been beloved.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a
for
likable
Everybody,
guy.
everybody
Yeah.
loves a Donald Glover.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
He the moment that we see him for the first time is actually what I thought was his most Lando moment. The way
That
he's
was
talking
awesome.
and you hear him at the gambling table.
Yep.
The sabacc table.
Sabacc.
right.
I love. He just matched Billy D's tone there perfectly.
Yeah.
So when we see him for the first time, there's a few exchanges I love, and they kind of clear up almost like this little bit of Star Wars lore, so that someone's
this retcon. Is that where you're going with this?
maybe.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know. So the way they say sabacc, because doesn't Han say sabak? He says it. He
Oh
pronounces it
man,
weird.
don't know.
there's so many the pronunciations.
Anyway,
like
they kind of like.
But I
clear it
like
up,
how
and
they
then-
address that here.
Then
Yeah.
he says Han.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
he goes, "It's Han, but that's okay."
That's a retcon because they could not figure out what his name was in the original trilogy. Because even Leia calls him Han a bunch of times in that movie. In
Yeah.
all of those movies.
I appreciated it. Though.
Yeah, me
Like,
too.
they
people
acknowledged
pronounce
that.
Leia all kinds of different
Leia,
ways,
yeah.
especially
Princess
in
Leia.
In like a
Leia,
third
yeah.
of the first movie, she has like a British accent for some reason. And
Yeah,
she,
Although that I think actually kind of makes sense depending on the contextually, but we'll talk about that
when the time comes, sure.
Yeah.
No,
No, he won't.
I won't.
That's right.
I'm
Sure,
gone.
you won't. You will.
God,
You
I
will.
can't believe that
we
song
love
came out
it.
first.
He calls into the show.
I can't believe it came out first. I'm
Oh man,
I'm wrong.
I'm surprised it was.
You
that
can't believe
close
it.
to release.
That is why you fail.
Yeah, I thought like you want to know where my head's at? I thought that came out like this summer. That's where my head's at. I'm like that made a big splash this summer. Is where like that's why I thought you were so wrong because I'm like
Damn,
no,
dude.
that was this summer.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
This is why we almost talked about Rogue One.
I don't
first.
know. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Once we get past Rogue One,
Should I go
think
to the
you'll be
doctor?
okay.
Should I get something
God,
checked?
are you feeling okay?
Are you pre-gaming
Oh
this
my
or
god, no!
so-
My midichlorians are out of whack.
Oh, okay. Why don't we jump to Emilia
what?
Clarke?
Okay. Huh?
Loved Emilia.
What? Kinda what she said.
was incredible.
Huh?
Emilia Clarke is Kira.
She is.
I loved her character.
Maybe-
Very good. She made a stronger impression than I was expecting.
Me too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Star Wars side characters. Period. Like
Yeah.
she was awesome.
Yeah, she ends up in a really compelling place.
Yeah.
and again, would love to see where that goes. But
Yeah, I care more about that than like the rest of Han's story, which I think is kind of a little obvious, but
That's fair. Yeah.
I would love to see where she's going, like I said, with Darth Maul and kind of what she's got to undertake.
yeah.
as
What's the name of that organization?
Red
Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Dawn.
Red
Yep.
is Crimson. You were there. You were there.
It's
Red
okay.
Dawn.
Red
Something
Dawn.
Else.
Yeah, her character was great, and I
Yeah.
thought she added nice depth to Han's character, and even just establishing a little bit of where we see Han later on. Like, he's got trust issues. That's a huge thing.
Also worth noting that Kira was the original name of Rey in the early concepts.
I was getting
and
there.
it was spelled
Ooh.
differently.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
right.
what Lucas named her that, right? And or am I wrong?
Yeah,
on that?
no, I think it was in Lucas and Michael Arndt's original kind of script, which they kind of used some ideas for Force Awakens. Yeah, it was Kira and Sam instead of Rey and Finn.
Yes,
It's better. It's better now.
I like all. It's great now. I mean, I like all those names, honestly. I mean, Kira is a
like
good
that
Star
they
Wars name, but
recycled
I think
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it spelled it differently, but
Still cool.
yeah, very.
Yeah,
okay.
she's a cool character.
She was great. I am a big Woody Harrelson fan in general, and a lot
Yeah.
of things that he's done, and I thought this was the perfect Star Wars role for him.
Me too. And
Big
like,
Cheers fan. Mm-hmm. Big. You must be a big Frasier fan.
I like Frasier.
we talked about at one point about doing a
I
Frasier
know.
interview.
You like it better than
No?
Seinfeld.
I don't like it better than Seinfeld.
Fuck!
No one does, really.
Go on.
There's a lot of people who
Except
do.
for people
a lot of people with very dry humor.
Oh.
Sophisticated people.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, pinkies up.
You
All
drink
right.
the apothetics and so on.
Memorized Childish Gambino release dates.
That's right.
We get just drastically talking Seinfeld here, Frasier, Childish Gambino. It's just all over the place, folks.
We are cultured.
All right. What do you got? What are you saying?
Woody
yeah,
Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson. Never disliked Woody Harrelson, but was never blown away. Like, I always knew that he was beloved, but he was never like one of my favorite actors. Loved him in this role. I thought he was excellent. I mean, this was like the thing that got me like, oh, this is why people love Woody Harrelson.
He's
This is
always the
awesome.
same, I think, to a degree. Like,
Yeah.
like Zombieland.
And it may have
that's his-
been my lack of exposure to him. I don't think I'm sure I've seen him in tons, but like,
he does have kind of a type, but he plays his roles with great kind of integrity and sensitivity. I mean, like True Detective.
I love him in that. But I saw that after, which is that was
It is still, I mean, kind of along those same lines.
So good.
But he is a great actor. Okay. Oh man, I'm just seeing Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Have you guys watched Fleabag? Mm-mm. Oh man, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is having a moment right now. After season 2 of Fleabag, it was a great. She's an incredible acting, writing talent. They brought her in to co-write the new Bond. She
know
won
that.
all kinds of Emmys with Fleabag. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she is just like
Phoebe
about
Waller-Bridge.
her. She's incredible, and I'm very happy that she's a part of this. And speaking of watching the original trilogy, recalling this, by the end of the movie, she's part of the Falcon, and it's interesting hearing.
That's a great write-in.
3PO, I'm going to hook you in to talk to the Falcon, figure out what's wrong with the hyperdrive, and it's like it kind of has so much more meaning.
So
now,
I
him
was-
saying
I was
that.
gonna-
Talk L3
I was
here.
gonna say, how do we feel L3?
So
Love L3. I mean, like I said, I worship at Phoebe
Okay.
Waller-Bridge's feet. So.
Here. All right. I don't know what the general
I
consensus
think
is.
I'm about to be with you.
Let's capture this moment on camera. So I am not a fan of L3.
Too much.
I didn't
Too
like
much.
her.
Elaborate.
No, I didn't. It's not that I didn't like Phoebe. It's that I didn't like the character of L3.
Yeah, I like the idea and what she would bring to the table and what she did bring to the table, but it was just a little too much.
I mean, I wouldn't put L3 on the level of like K2SO.
Okay.
So it's,
all right.
so it's not.
Me either.
Yeah. So
I like
mean,
K2 better
I'm not-
too.
Yeah. So she's not like.
Hang on. Did we all just agree on something?
Yes, we did.
I really
Capture this moment.
I really liked her, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put her on the level of a lot of
So there-
other droids, but I still really like, how her character and her kind of like, what's going on with her and Lando.
I got a lot to say, but
yeah, me
it
too.
adds
I was
to-
gonna go there. I don't think
Yeah.
it crossed the line in like it crossed the line type of way.
Well,
but like
no, it just
didn't feel good.
It just
like
it
was
just gave fabric to Lando. Lando is a very sexually open person. is
Yeah.
what it's hinted at, and I'm totally
100%.
I'm totally open for that, and that's very
he's a
good.
swinger for sure.
And droids are like, it's always a weird thing with Star Wars. Like,
Are they fuckbots or are they not?
I like, they're
Dude, all
they're
right.
like they're sentient. but
Come
they're,
on.
like routinely erase their like, it's always weird like where droids stand in regard.
Well, that's the question. I was
compared
just
to
taking the
humans.
sugar off.
Listen, I forgot to mention this to Mr. Swear Word over here.
But they had.
We have to bleep out the swear words. All right. So
You've never mentioned that. I've sworn a lot.
Or if I remember.
because you didn't swear until last week, and then I was like, "Damn it!" And then I had to search through. And
did you
like,
say?
Why
What'd
wouldn't
he
you have
do?
told me that?
It's okay.
I think I swore a bunch.
What'd
You swore
say?
twice.
I fucking love Jake Lloyd. Jake fucking Lloyd. Was that what it was?
Probably.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm over it.
It's more
I'm
about
over
Jingle
it.
All the Way than
Jingle
Jake
all the
Lloyd.
fucking way.
Okay, so with L3, I felt like with how well received BB-8 has been, talking Disney era, and how well received K2 has been, that it was kind of like, all right, what's our next act here? And with L3, it was like, all right, let's take this character up a notch, or this trope up a notch, and it didn't work for me. Like little things like when Emilia Clarke's leaving when Lando's character, Lando. What am I saying? So when Lando, he is a character. When he leaves the cockpit and he says, kind of like, do you need anything else? And she goes, equal rights. I'm like, okay, come on. Like it just fell so flat in that theater.
That one kind of hit for me.
Boring.
It was more the sexual undertones that was just like, this doesn't, like, it doesn't feel right to me. Like it just felt like it was very abrupt and kind of came out of nowhere, and there was little to no payoff to it.
I thought she was funnier when she was trying to when she caused the ruckus with the droids, when she was kind of like, she clips the restraining bolt off.
Yeah. And then when she liberates them, she's like, I think I found my calling or whatever like that. That was fun too.
Even to an extent when they're fighting. I thought that was kind of funny how she's like against droid fighting, almost like it's like dog fighting.
Exactly.
In a way. So those moments were good.
Yeah, there's nothing about L3 that bothered me at all, and there's a lot of stuff I liked. But yeah, I would she made less of an impression on me than most other droids.
That's what I'm saying.
So
it's unfortunately largely forgettable. And granted, you could argue that about Solo in a way, the movie. But that being said, average at best. There's one moment I wanted to bring up with her. So we mentioned that she's kind of like a part of the Falcon now.
Right.
I don't like that.
I do. So in The Last Jedi, kind of like the expanded novel, which is really just the only novel that came out for Last Jedi. But they call it
Jason Fry.
Yeah, Jason Fry did a wonderful job with it. He mentions in there something about the Falcon running on 3 droid brains. And then they bring that up in Solo. And then, granted, that was on purpose, but I like how that connected. The other thing is when, for the first time, they are booting up to take off on the Falcon, for the first time in the movie, how she kind of malfunctions and then hits herself. Because how many times does that happen with the Falcon and Han has to hit it?
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Empire Strikes Back big time.
Right?
Yeah, especially. Yeah.
That's a nice little callback. So
I kind of missed that.
It was a nice awareness from Ron Howard and team. To do something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that stuff. As a Star Wars fan, I'm the easiest guy to please when you bring back something from a different movie or the Clone Wars or Rebels, maybe a comic. I like that stuff.
I like that stuff a lot too, but for me, it felt the opposite, and it felt like you were trying to wedge something new into that. It felt like, we want to leave our stamp on this, and we want to make sure L3's there. And even if you don't talk about it, L3's in Episode 9 because she's part of the film. That was where I kind of was like, you don't need to come with us. You were here. You were fun enough, but yeah,
I'm not strongly committed one way or the other on that.
Fair enough. Opinions.
Could have done without her, but
I don't think I could have done without her. I think we needed a droid like that.
I don't know if I would have known any different.
Okay, all right.
Paul Bettany, he had a tough few months there, right? So he was Vision just a few weeks prior. He gets killed. And
the history of this is interesting because originally
Vision dies.
Yeah, sorry. It is what it is. If you're watching this and you're telling me you haven't watched Infinity War, then the problem's with you, not me.
I drop an F-bomb and you spoil the biggest movie in the history of ever.
Your name must be Nate Lockhart.
If you consider Vision to be the spoiler in that movie, then you're dead to me.
But so Paul Bettany, Dryden Voss, is interesting because in the Lord and Miller version originally, great actor from The Wire, amongst other things, Michael K. Williams played that role, and it was like a motion captured alien. It wasn't like a human character. But when they had to do the reshoots, Michael K. Williams wasn't able to. His schedule didn't work out, so they had to bring in Paul Bettany last minute to do this.
I didn't know that.
I love Michael K. Williams. I would have loved to see him in this, but Paul Bettany does a good job with this character.
I like him.
Again, it's like he doesn't make an impression. He's one of the least impactful Star Wars villains, but he's still he served his role in the story very well.
Yeah, I kind of liked him a lot. I thought he was pretty menacing, pretty creepy. Served his role is a good way to put it, but
I like that Paul seemed to have a good grasp on that temper. Like you really felt that he couldn't control that at times.
Ready to snap.
Yes.
And when you say one of the when you say least menacing Star Wars villains, that's what you put it.
Just least. He made least impression on me.
It's tough to even almost think of him as a Star Wars
exactly
villain.
Where I was going with that. I never thought of him as the big bad. I never thought here's this plot and it's all because of this guy. And when you think about a menacing villain, he's kind of always in your mind throughout the story. This was kind of just a plot device for me.
Menacing.
Yeah.
This guy
It's a Star Wars term.
So yeah, What did you think of his weapons? I don't know what they're called.
Well,
technically,
I like the scratches on his face. Those were cool.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
The weapons were cool too.
They were a little unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very functional.
reminded me almost a little bit like with how in that final sequence they leave like that light trail of Yondu's little
Oh, yeah.
from Guardians of the Galaxy.
You think it's the same thing? You think he stole Yondu's horn?
Oh man, I never even considered that. It kind of looks like it now.
He had two of them.
Oh, he did. How about that?
That's what it was.
Mystery solved.
Confirmed.
Thandie Newton as Vale adds depth to Beckett's character.
She was really good, but she was gone too soon.
Yeah,
I
same.
said.
Yeah, I wish she was around longer.
She
I was
great.
surprised at that for
Yeah.
sure. I kind of
Budget.
thought it would be a little bit more ensemble with her, but
Maybe
we
she
got
got
what
too
we got.
expensive.
Yeah, maybe.
Good old Yuna Swatomo.
Oh,
as
everyone's favorite.
Chewbacca, the Chewbacca now. We love him.
Yeah.
John Favreau as.
Hang on, let's talk
what is
Chewbacca
it?
and Han Solo's relationship
Oh,
here.
of course.
So, what do you think of the way they introduced Chewbacca?
I thought it was cool.
I liked it. It was really good. I think we all kind of had in our minds the meetup that happened in the old EU of Han Solo being a part of like a liberation of Wookiees on Kashyyyk.
Oh, I wasn't even familiar with this. So
Yeah. So and they kind of became acquainted that way. But I really like the way they set it up in this. This is a great alternate version, I think.
If I remember correctly, Chewbacca kind of stuck with him because of that, right? Because like he helped free the Wookiees.
oh, that's what because they reference like a life debt.
Yeah, the life debt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it might have been because of that.
So now
Yeah,
I think the life debt is supposed to be just freedom from the cell. That's the life debt now.
Yeah, I like how they're sitting around the campfire for the first time as a group, and he mentions that he wants to go back and help free his family /
Yeah.
tribe.
So that
and they
they-
say, "What's the difference?" Like I like that.
Same, they're like, same thing, doesn't matter. What I don't like, this is a very small thing, but it kind of comes back to like, they in these one-off movies, these Star Wars stories, they really seem to try to retcon a lot, and maybe retcon's not the right word. Just explain things that don't need to be
flesh
explained.
out canon.
Yeah, and maybe for to a detriment sometimes, like the Chewie thing. What's your name? Chewbacca. Ah, I'm not gonna call you that. I need something shorter. I'm like, just that would felt like that's.
Chewie's short for Chewbacca. We
That's
didn't need that
You could have,
explained.
that was very over-explained, like very like I call him Chewie in the other movies. This is why. You see it?
I never even looked at it like that.
Yeah, that was a little cringy. It just didn't need to be there for me.
I was really hoping, seeing the trailers and seeing Chewbacca like embrace with other Wookiees, and which in the movie it just ended up being other Wookiees that were in prison. But it was we were all really hoping for some shout outs to Lumpy and the whole gang from the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, we were all really thinking about that.
I think we all
really
thought
hoping.
that's you see Chewbacca like kind of butt heads with Sagwa, I think the name of the character was, and we all were hoping that was maybe like a holiday tie-in.
Yeah. Although the holiday tie-ins have been happening.
Who would have thought
Much-
the Mandalorian?
much the Mandalorian. And in one of the books, they reference. I think it was one of the Aftermath books. They reference because it might have been the second one, which is Life Debt, which has Han and Chewie in it, and I think Lumpy is mentioned in that book, and now Life Day is mentioned in Mandalorian. I'm so glad that the thing George Lucas despises the most.
Hey, he did it.
He did. I mean. Man,
Well, the network has
no, I was not ready for not to get off on a tangent, but just to say I was not ready. I heard so much about that holiday special when I finally watched it. I was not prepared.
I still haven't seen it. Should we do it?
I have not seen
Yes,
it. I've not
we've
seen
been
it myself.
Every
I know.
every
I know.
Christmas we talk about watching it, and we never do.
So this is the year.
Should we do? Well, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it as like a bonus for this. It'll
It
be
is
like the.
worse than you're expecting. I'm telling you.
That's what it feels like it's gonna be.
In my mind, I think it's pretty awful. I can't wait to see how
you have
horrible.
you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen
I've
it.
never watched it. I've never watched it.
All
This
I-
must be the year.
Yeah, we gotta do it. We should.
John, I
this
feel
is
like
the
we should take that journey
Rise of
together.
Skywalker,
Yeah, I mean the three. This is perfect. We have a series going on where we
Yeah.
review Star Wars movies.
100%.
We're gonna have a whole
Get it
episode
done.
about. The
All right, we'll do that.
yeah.
Closing thought on the Chewie thing. I thought it could have been a really not impactful moment, but just a cool moment for like somewhere down the line where he just says Chewie, and that would have been like ooh, that's cool. Like that would have hit home.
Yeah.
Rather than over explaining. I went on too long about
No,
that. but
good point. Though. Anyway,
it ground
So,
my gears.
I like how they kind of got together there, and one of those two stormtroopers is voiced by Steve Blum, by the way.
oh,
Jeff Pavlak and I got to sit with on stage at
right.
Nickel City Con a few years ago.
Very cool.
voice actor extraordinaire.
Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and many, many, many other things.
Yeah, many.
We don't have time to go through his list. It's incredible. So that Wookiee we talked about, that Chewbacca headbutts, that is played by Anthony Daniels. who is C-3PO.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
Oh,
So he is the only Star Wars actor to appear in every single Star Wars movie to date.
that's awesome.
Of course,
Oh,
3PO.
so even though 3PO and R2-D2 weren't in this one,
Right.
they were in
Loophole.
Rogue One.
3PO had a moment in Rogue
I
One
see.
that they kind of just threw in.
They both did. R2 was there too.
Well, sure, but I'm saying specifically
Spoken.
with Anthony Daniels, they wanted to get him in, so he played Chewbacca's kind of
Right. Didn't
That's
know
cool.
that.
yeah,
That's great. I like that.
kind of a little bit of a tidbit there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We were on so Jon Favreau. Speaking of, so we talked
Oh, yeah.
about Mandalorian
Yeah.
on
I mean, not too much to say, but it was I forget his character's name, but it was it was
Rio.
a cool Rio. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Good.
you know it's him right away, right? You always know Jon Favreau's voice.
No.
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
That was news to me right now.
Okay. Well then,
Warwick
yeah.
Davis is and everything.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was
And-
obvious.
First time
and
he had
Clint
he
Howard.
spoke.
Of course, it's a
So
Ron.
you
It's a
knew-
Ron Howard movie, so you got Clint Howard.
You knew
in there.
Clint Howard was going to be in it. He's in everything Ron Howard does, and of course he kind of shows up as the keeper of that droid battle where you stumble upon Lando for the first time.
Yeah. Was this the first time Warwick Davis spoke?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Definitely in
Like a whole
plain
sentence?
English.
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Maybe as one of the little furballs, he said something, but
Yeah, definitely first English speaking role in Star Wars.
cool for him.
And then we get I want to jump here to Ray Park reprising his role briefly as Darth Maul.
Very glad he got to do that.
Man, so
That was cool.
Let's flash back. When you're watching this movie the first time in theater, you see Kira talking to somebody. Did you guys know it was Darth Maul right away?
No, I didn't. That was a big surprise to me.
I don't want to be that guy.
You had the inkling?
Man, okay, so I'm sitting between Lauren and Pavlok, and I just started slapping both of their
A
knees.
rock
I
in a
go,
hard place.
that's I was like, that's Darth Maul. That's Darth Maul. It took me a few seconds, but it is voiced by Sam Witwer, who
Yeah.
voices Darth Maul in any animated series, whether it's Rebels, Clone Wars, and also as Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games.
Right.
Kind of cool that he got to come to the big
And by the
screen
way,
to do
that guy is a absolute expert on Star Wars. I've seen him on the movie trivia Schmodown, the
Sam Witwer.
trivia show. He is a fan through and through. He has an in-depth knowledge of Star Wars. By the way,
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see Ray back for a little bit.
yeah. And okay,
And we got the lightsaber. We saw the lightsaber, his new one from Clone Wars.
right? Yeah.
Oh, the little hookie on it?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Okay. How do we feel about the Han Solo's name origin? The name Solo. or the way-
I like it.
You do like it?
No, I don't like it.
Yeah, I like
I'm
it.
sorry. I like that in the expanded universe, so the previous Star Wars canon, that was his last name. Like he
Yeah.
had a dad who with the same name, but in this one, he's just kind of this abandoned kid who doesn't
Yeah, he's
have.
on
I didn't care for it.
Cresselia. What's the name of the planet? Cresselia?
It was a-
Corellia.
Corellia.
Yeah.
So-
Cresselia is a Pokemon.
I don't know about that. I don't know nothing about
Take it
Pokemon.
from
So
Fort.
I don't know
So
about that.
it's kind of a little thing to me, but maybe how you felt about Chewie is how I felt about this. It's probably the one moment in the theaters I kind of rolled my eyes for. It doesn't bother me that much, but it was one where I was like,
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that.
You're kind of selling me on it. I don't like it anymore.
one thing I learned about John,
It's like-
and I love it. He is fierce with his opinions, but
I'm open.
he could be turned.
I'm open.
He'd be a dangerous Jedi. You
I'm
don't-
often wrong.
You never know. He could
I'm very
change.
wrong all the time.
It's okay. It takes one. to
Yeah, I
know
don't like
one.
that anymore.
This guy doesn't like younglings. I can tell you that much.
So one thing also I want to talk about. We're going through the cast. Probably last notable character here, Infus Nest, played by Aaron Kellyman.
Oh,
I
yeah.
What you
love
guys
that
think
character.
of the
Very cool.
reveal?
Very cool reveal.
It's
I really
weird.
liked it.
I had people complain, and they were like, "That's such a Disney thing that it's this like
It's
like
the
this
woman.
It's this young kid." I don't know.
Oh,
if
I'm
it's-
sorry that it isn't a man to be the warrior
I don't even know if
man.
it's so much that, but that it was like a kid is I think at least what I've heard, as opposed to male versus female here. But
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see
like
it.
that didn't bother me in the least bit. When
Where's the merit behind that? I don't
when
know.
the helmet was being
Yeah.
pulled off, did you guys think it was a known character at all?
Yeah,
I thought it was like it was either going to be some,
was ready
some
for it.
warrior guy or like I don't know, maybe there was like some theory, maybe it was like Boba Fett or something.
Well,
I don't know.
I meant a previously established Star Wars character, like someone
yeah.
we
like,
knew.
well, maybe it was like Boba Fett or something.
Well, we wouldn't know Boba Fett looks like without the helmet, would we?
It looks like Daniel Logan.
Takes the
Daniel
helmet off.
Logan.
It's a Boba Fett Mandalorian helmet under it.
How do you even see
It's
that?
just a CGI'd Timur Morris head.
But
It's a
de-aged as well.
Of course.
Oh, gosh. So
I thought it was cool.
I
did
liked
not
her.
comment.
I
No,
do.
it was great.
I
No
love that
complaints at
they
all.
stemmed the rebellion here a little bit too. Like,
So good. That was
Yeah.
one of those seeds that I like a lot that you were talking about, where they bring some of that stuff in from the old movies rather than shoehorn stuff from these new movies.
Yes, I always
This-
love. I
that
love
felt good.
seeing all the seeds of the Rebel Alliance.
So good.
Yeah.
do you guys know when Solo takes place in the timeline?
Don't ask me about dates.
I want to say
2004.
up.
That's what I said.
Oh. I want to
Damn
see.
it. Okay, you're on a Return of the Jedi too.
It's
a long time ago.
I will say it 10 years before New Hope. That's my guess.
I agree with that. I've never confirmed this. I've never looked it up. Let's see.
When does Solo take place? 11 to 14 years before A New Hope.
Okay.
Because like,
Has anyone ever said it's gotta be like it's Star
Because
Wars?
the end of the movie is heading towards Tatooine to hit up Jabba. The
Right.
Huta.
Well, it's going to be the beginning of his
The Jabba.
relationship with Jabba.
Yeah, which is
so
gonna be-
It's like, yeah, I could see
not-
that being some time.
He's got to find some debt to get into.
Yeah,
you know?
but so I guess he's in his 30s in A New Hope. And
I love
he's-
these questions here that pre-fill. Does Solo take place before Episode 1? Is Darth Maul still alive? Why is Darth Maul alive in Solo? Did Solo lose money?
I really so back to that reveal and that point. I really liked that. That was kind of like that was one of Disney's "we're listening" points. That we know you guys love Darth Maul. That was one of the best parts of the prequels. We know that people hate that he got killed off. We know that we killed the EU where he officially came back to life.
Well, no. He
We-
came
we-
back in Clone Wars, which is canon.
True. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
point.
And Rebels, yeah.
But I think it was like their movie statement where it's like, all right, we know you want this.
It was more.
This is here.
It was almost like more of a kind of a shared universe type of a move.
Yeah.
You know, one complaint that I've heard that I don't agree with is that the mainline movies, Force Awakens and Last Jedi and everything, don't tie enough into the supplemental canon, like the novels and stuff like that. I don't feel like everything needs to be Marvel. Not everything needs to be a shared universe. Like they can just be these, one at a
What Star
time
Wars is,
stories.
though?
That's
There's
kind of.
Well, I mean,
But it's
talking
such a
about
big
like,
universe that-
share the Marvel style. Like some people like I watched on Collider, which I'm big fans of. But I disagree with Christian Harloff that they should be referencing the novels and throwing in all these little bits for fans and everything like that. It doesn't. Not everything
Need
needs to
it.
be.
Something
Not everything needs to be Marvel.
it can exist
but,
on its own, but
But that was
in the
that type of
universe.
a move. So
Gotcha.
it was cool. I'm not against it at all. I just don't think it doesn't. Star Wars doesn't need to be Marvel. Shared universes aren't going to be in vogue forever.
Not to go too off topic here, but speaking of what you're talking about here with Marvel and Star Wars, what do you think of the Knights of Ren story being told off screen in a Marvel comic?
I'm fine with that. I mean, as long as the their history isn't like. I'm assuming that in Rise of Skywalker, their presence, you're not going to need to know what's going on with them in order for a good story to be told. I mean, now is not the time to get into it, but like for Snoke, the lack of explanation I feel is okay in The Last Jedi. It's no more explanation than we really got for the Emperor in the original trilogy. So, and I feel like that is a story that will be told, and I don't feel like it needed to be told in the movies. So, as long as the story, as long as there isn't like a hole in the story, like the way the movie tells it with them not having an origin, because I don't think their history really will be gone into in Rise of Skywalker, then I'm okay with it. But it depends how the story goes in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, some notable Star Wars fans that I've kept up with throughout the years, like that's a point that's like kind of sour to them, and I'm like, but like how important in the scheme of things are these Knights of Ren?
We're at the very end here. This isn't going to be like
Right.
Yeah, we're not fleshing people out anymore.
At this point, it's like
And
I don't need it. I'm fine with it being a Marvel, but that's just a little kind of off-topic thing. While you mentioned it,
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreedo.
I think
Get it?
McClunky. I think there's nothing else that we probably need to talk about with Solo, unless
Yeah.
you guys have anything that comes to mind.
I just liked it, man. I just liked it. That's all I can say about it.
Ranking.
I just really liked it.
Rankings. Time for rankings.
Let's rank them up.
Okay, so
I got all of our current rankings. Very tough to remember those 3 movies we ranked.
we've done the 3 movies so far. Of course, Solo being the 4th.
I didn't even keep up to date with your rankings. These are-
Going chronologically.
I know where mine is. I know
Yeah.
my truth.
Go ahead and do it. Lead off. Lead off.
All right.
Do the first hitter guy.
So
I'm a big baseball fan. I don't know why I just played dumb. I love baseball.
okay.
I watched like 120 Yankees games this year.
You're like biggest baseball fan I know personally.
First hitter guy is what I just said.
First hitter guy.
Go ahead and
I
be
like
that.
it. So number 1, we're changing how we did this from the first 2 episodes of this.
Yeah.
I have so far Revenge of the Sith. Number 2, I have Attack of the Clones.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. First, 100%,
Yeah.
no doubt. Number 3, I have Solo, and then 4, Phantom Menace.
Wow.
Tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead. Why?
You're wrong, John. What's yours?
Why?
Okay.
Oh no, give your rankings.
So
Okay. Wait. Are these? It's. I mean, it's always tough to weigh
the
with these.
rankings
If it's
so far.
If it's no. But also, it's like. You mean like best movies or your favorite? I mean,
No,
it's your favorite. It's your
favorites.
favorite.
but you can apply a mix of filters to those. So I think best movie that plays into my opinion on where those movies would rank in an overall list. You know,
Okay.
That's-
because I mean,
I've got a weird. I'll say this, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I've got this weird thing where at the top of my list, the top 2 that I would list when all is said and done, I could make an argument for either, and I would never like get into an argument
Either
if
way.
someone ranked
Oh,
my
yeah.
second one first.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, my Star Wars rankings.
Wanking.
My Star Wars wankings.
And I'm in trouble for the swear words.
Yeah. All right. What time is this at?
There's a separate channel for that.
All right.
But
Minute 51 here. Seth said wanking.
my rankings are always kind of in flux. There's generally
Which is
a
why I like-
structure.
Four again. Oh my gosh. Not really.
Which is why I like doing this. Like I like these fresh rewatches and like let's rank this set of
Can you believe Jimmy
viewage.
VC scored? Okay.
Did he?
Yeah.
We win him.
No.
Sports. What do you got, John?
I have a good movie followed by 3 not good movies.
Oh, for a second I thought this was your list, and I was like, "You're just
No.
copying mine."
No, so I've got right now we've watched 4 movies. We've watched the prequels and we watched Solo. Solo goes number 1. Then I have I think not reverse order. I've got Solo. I've got episode 3, episode 1, episode 2. Those
Okay.
are my rankings.
All right.
So
All
when
right.
it comes down to it, does Solo lack the big wow Star Wars tentpole moments? Yes, I didn't see a lightsaber. That's kind of a bummer in a Star Wars movie. Maybe they
don't
could.
need that.
I got that's kind of like a generalization. That might not have worked in this movie, but like
briefly saw a
a
lightsaber.
moment like that in this movie, a Star Wars moment didn't happen, but it was still very enjoyable through and through. It fleshed out a character, gave some pretty cool backstory, and it was a competently made movie. And that's just where I lie, putting it ahead of all 3 prequels. They weren't good movies.
I love that.
That's it,
We
for
really
me.
got the. We kind of knew we would, but we got the origin of not just Han and Chewie,
Yeah.
but the Falcon.
That was fun.
The classic game.
And-
And he says fair and square,
A
square.
couple of times. Oh, before we go into Seth's ranking real quick, the dice were weird. Those it felt like a touchstone that was like they were really trying to force those dice on
That
us.
felt forced a little bit to
Yeah,
me.
forced.
I was okay with it, but so Han's dice that originally are hanging in A New
Falcon.
Hope.
Which I
Yeah.
never noticed.
Me either.
Until like the
Until
last
Last
time I
Jedi.
rewatched them. And then when they were The Last Jedi, I thought they made them up for The Last Jedi.
It was like a
They were
new
just
thing.
saying that they
Yeah, I
were
don't know.
there. But it was there the whole time. It really was. Yeah.
So then they brought it back here. So like they're trying to make
I
something
mean, it's
that
cool that there was like an awareness, of those 2 movies consecutively, and they came out, that they were such a prevalent thing.
just seemed like they were trying to take nothing and make it something.
The dice right off the bat was tough. It was like, okay.
But then they did it like 3 times.
I feel like what they made of it in Last Jedi was really cool, though. So I'd like seeing them kind of pop up again here. But
Agree with that point.
But Last Jedi came first, right?
it did.
So that's weird.
You're right that time. That's the first
I know
time
all
you've been
the
right
dates.
about
I'm
a
a date
chronological
master.
thing tonight.
All right, so I got Solo and I got the trilogy, and the first
Yeah,
trilogy.
yeah.
It doesn't really matter. They're all bad.
As I speak at this moment, I don't know about. I honestly am torn about Solo. There's no question Solo is a better made movie than Revenge of the Sith.
No, there's question for sure.
The Revenge
There's
of the
not.
Sith
No,
has
there is.
all kinds of problems that Solo doesn't have, but
Solo has problems.
it's a much on a technical level. Solo is a better made movie
Yeah.
than Revenge of the
It
Sith.
kind of goes back to the
but,
movie by committee thing. Like this wasn't going to be a poorly made film, no matter what. This was a Disney Star Wars movie coming out in 2018. It wasn't going to be a garbage truck on fire.
I was happy you got that. You're right. That was good.
I had a.
Good for you,
It was,
Fitz.
it was that gif with like the all like. That was like.
but Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it's you could. I mean, I think it's. Without question, actually, that Revenge of the Sith is more of an impactful movie. It does carry more weight.
Even if you don't like it, I would say it's definitely more impactful.
yeah, and
Oh,
like,
sure,
you know,
sure.
I just rewatching those movies with Emily. She.
What does Emily have to say about all this?
So Emily, she a lot of times when she watches movies, she hasn't watched them for a while, and she rewatches them. She like forgets like everything about them. So it'll be like she's like, oh, I don't remember all this stuff. So it's like she's watching it for the first time.
Well, kind of
And
movie.
First Dates.
And Revenge of the Sith, yeah,
on your couch.
51st spinoffs. And Revenge of the Sith, she actually had never seen Revenge of the Sith, so that was a really interesting one. And she was just so like, she was super positive on it. She was like, "This is
what
like,
do we say? It was Lauren's favorite Star Wars movie of any Star Wars movie."
yeah." So
Which is crazy, but still.
and so. Yeah, I mean,
So with Emily-
it's partially due to the fact that it's just, episode 1, 2, it's just such a big improvement, but it really took her by surprise, and I'm super torn. But at this moment, this will change in the future because, like you said, my wankins are in flux. But for right now, in 2019, the year of our Lord 2019, November, I will say number 1, Revenge of the Sith.
All right.
Number 2, Solo.
Okay.
Number 3, Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace.
I can
hang on.
respect it.
Which
We're saying we have the same ranking at this point?
No, we don't. You put Attack of the Clones over at Solo, you heathen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally missed that 100%.
Yeah,
I was
that's
so
what I was-
fixated on Revenge of the Sith.
Attack of the Clones,
You're-
I can't put Solo below that.
Well, that's your fault. That's your prerogative, I guess. But your wankings had me all over the place. I couldn't
they
even
do.
believe it.
My wank, you never know
I-
where my
yeah,
wankings are going
I
to get you into trouble.
I totally misheard 2 and 3.
I can get
I
get behind liking Sith better. I can get behind that.
Solo is a better movie, but
And
Revenge
I
of
can
the
get
Sith.
behind seeing Attack of the Clones and liking that better than Solo.
Oh, I can't.
No, well,
You got
that's where
behind it.
You're wrong.
You got behind it all right. You raised
Like,
it that way.
Attack of the Clones, like a lot of it has a similar kind of like adventure tone, but it's just so much sloppier than Solo. I can't. No.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough to
But Revenge of the Sith. Hey,
Make a decision
hey,
like that.
Hey, buddy. Hey,
respect.
No.
still your head.
Okay.
A prequel
He
movie
put a
ranked
prequel
above
Solo.
something else.
Yeah, you win. You win.
You do.
I lost
Let's
somehow.
pack it up now.
Somehow I'm the minority here. I don't know how that happened, but
Damn straight. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Ask me in a month, and
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So I feel like, as we wrap up in this episode, that the next episode in Rogue One might be the one where we're all, I don't know. John may just flip
Yeah.
the script here, but we might be like almost on the same page. It might. Well, is it possibly that it's just going to be a Rogue One love fest?
stay tuned, everybody.
I think
What
there's
do we
going to be more agreement. Yeah,
I haven't seen it,
sounds
so
like
I'm gonna watch it between the 2 takes.
So, okay, yeah.
He hasn't seen Rogue
That's
One.
a joke.
here
I've
in
seen it
2.5
a lot of
This
times.
guy over here. So this is part 4. This is the end of our episode on Solo: A Star Wars Story. Lots of fun discussion ahead. We're almost halfway through the Star Wars saga. Kind of crazy, right? Like we've got a lot of good stuff coming.
Yeah, man.
A lot of good
Oh,
stuff.
man.
So
we left a lot of good stuff in the
good.
rearview mirror. It
gets better as we go,
But really
baby.
good stuff in the near future.
I used to dread this night. I used to dread it. Like, I gotta watch these movies, and I gotta come here, and I gotta clown these guys out. No,
What a jerk!
I'm just excited to not have to watch these movies anymore. Not to watch bad movies. It just
Well,
Not to watch some of the Star Wars
we made
movies
it.
again.
We made it.
Stay tuned because next episode we're going to talk about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. If you haven't checked out the first 3 episodes, go back and watch them. We talk about Jake Lloyd a lot. We talk about
Surprisingly, yeah.
how great all the prequels are, and that's really about it. I can't think of anything else.
The comments expressed here do not reflect the opinions or views of the Geekiverse or whatever we're about to be called as
No,
a
we're
whole.
still. Yeah, that's a fair point. So, for Seth, for John, I'm Josiah. We'll catch you for Rogue One. You and your